Hey, True Believers, Englentine here. So, Star Trek. I like it. I love the TV show. I like the Next Generations, all of iterations of it. And one of the most famous parts of the original Star Trek was the Mirrorverse. In this case, we're going to go to Star Trek The Next Generation, Broken Mirror. It's the future of the Mirrorverse. And I was commissioned this by Chrononaut, thank you very much, who asks, is it really that good? I mean, let's face it, if you're a Star Trek fan, you kind of romanticize this as the best thing that Star Trek's ever produced, almost. So I figure, okay, let's take a look at this. I'm going to tell you basically about everything that's going on in this, so there will be spoilers. Going to review each issue on their own merit and talk about each issue as it goes. And once again, thank you very much to Chrononaut for commissioning this one. Now, if you would like to commission a video, just go on over to Ko-Fi and pick out a category. Pick out a subject, a story, a character, be they hero, villain, or a super team, and we'll make a video for it. I'm having a lot of fun with this because, frankly, I don't know where I'm going next. Sometimes it's obscure. Sometimes it's stuff I'm like, I would never read that otherwise. And sometimes it's a Star Trek Mirrorverse book. And I certainly appreciate. What I don't appreciate is the reason why I'm doing commission videos, and that's because YouTube is choking out the I Love Comics channel. With 18,000 subs, they decided I can only have 200 views before they cut off everything. And so I created another channel called Old Man Comics, and the link is in the description below if you want to go on over there, sub to that. As soon as it hits 1,000 subs, all the comic book videos, such like this and the Marvel vs. DC, the top 10 comic books sold to readers, will be going over there. Now, with all that aside, let's find out if Star Trek Broken Mirror is really that good. Now, usually I'm not a fan of poster covers, and yes, we always look at the cover first. Then that's what this is. It's a poster cover. You know, you got them all posing for some reason. It doesn't tell you a lot about the story, but it does let you know you're in a Mirrorverse because, boom, there's that goatee on Picard. And the goatee and the red sashes, like what Deanna Troi is wearing, those are an immediate identifier that you are in the Mirrorverse. Overall, I do believe this is a win. And we do get to see who's responsible for this. We've got David and Scott Tipton doing the writing and art by J.K. Woodward, while letters are from And World Design and editing Sarah Gatos and Chris Cerisi. I like the underwriting here, which says Space, the Final Frontier. These are the voyages of the ISS Enterprise, its continuing mission to conquer strange new worlds, to enslave new life and new civilizations, and to boldly go where no one has gone before. Star Trek Broken Mirror Zero is a free comic book giveaway, and it follows Lieutenant Barclay. And through his point of view, we meet all of the players, and we kind of get a history that the Vulcans, after Captain Kirk came in and convinced Spock to seek a more peaceful route, the Empire, the Federation basically, had fallen apart, and they only control their bit of the universe. And so Barclay sees everybody as weak. He sees Picard as weak because Picard thinks about things before he jumps in, and he wants to take over the ship. But he's got a lot of people to go through, and that's one thing we find out. Of course, everybody in this particular universe is more evil than the other side. That's what the Mirrorverse is all about. Natasha Yar ends up killing 2 slave ships filled with Vulcan slaves, apparently, of course, enslaved after the failed attempt at peace. The Klingons and the Kardashians decided that they were going to take over the universe, and they did because the Empire / Federation was weak. So like I said, we go and we see each character. Data is the scary wild card player. Natasha Yar's violent, and she does get her comeuppance where Barclay decides to make a move, stabs her in the back in order to take her job, which I thought, okay, that's a weird way to run a military installation, but that's the way it goes, and it ends with Picard giving him the security position. Overall, it's a decent book, but let's face it, if you are not a Star Trek fan, this isn't going to be your cup of tea anyway. If you enjoy seeing the characters, if you are a fan of Star Trek, you're just going to get a little bit more out of it. However, If you are on the fence, this is a decent book. It will take a little explaining. You do have to read the introduction, or at least if you're watching this video, you'll know exactly what the Mirrorverse is and why it came to be. But they really do a good job of explaining and getting everybody caught up. So far, so good. Issue 0 is a win. Issue number 1. So before I go on, I do have to admit, this is really the first time I've read this series. I don't know if I said that yet. Anyway, my brother got this when he was here on the channel, so I didn't get a chance to read this. And so far, so good. Yeah. Alrighty. The cover of this one, it's another poster cover, although I don't like this one very much because Jean-Luc Picard doesn't look Picardish enough. So, yeah. Anywho, the crux of this one, first of all, we do get a little bit of a explanation right here about what's going on. Tells you where we are, and then we jump right on in. We see Picard, and he's like, I've learned patience. I think about everything. I make sure that I weigh all elements and wait for my enemy to make a mistake, which we actually find out some people don't like. In this particular society, they prefer people who just jump in, both feet, action first, think later. Most of this story deals with two things. First, there's a Kardashian, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, Kardashian ship, and it's by itself. Now, the Stargazer here, Picard's ship, thinks, okay, well, we could go and we could capture it, and so they do, but they're worried, of course, because Kardashians travel in 3, and this one's by itself, and they want to save it because they want the weapons. They want to be able to get the they want to get the torpedo bay and the phaser array, as Data says. When they do capture it, they begin talking, and there's apparently rumors about this starship that's being built by the Empire, and that it's supposed to be this big badass ship of all, and that it's supposed to outclass any Klingon or Kardashian ship. And so they start talking. Okay, well, how can we find out if it's real? How can we find out if it's how do we take it? Because at some point it's just a myth, but then all of a sudden Picard's like, wait a second, I have information here. And they hear about a guy named Geordi. Apparently Captain Picard had worked with him for a little bit, and he's got information, and so they decide that they want to go and meet him. I'm a little bit ahead of it because this page right here is where Luke says, wait, I think it's real. So yeah, they go meet with Geordi, and he tells them all about it. And so Picard says, look, I want you to work for us. I want you to work with us. And Geordi sets up a deal and says, he wants the biggest share other than Picard. And Picard says, yeah. So Geordi leads them out to show them where the ship is. And they ask, what's the name? And then the name is Enterprise. And that's where the book leaves off. Now, this is still a strong issue. It's still a good issue, but it's a setup issue. Granted, 0, the free comic book day, I guess it shouldn't count, but I kind of do count it, I guess. But, yeah, so we get 2 books in a row that are setting up. First, The World, and now the miniseries, I guess. This one's setting up the plot. So it is different, but it still feels like we're getting 2 setup issues in a row here. Issue 3, starting with the cover. It's sort of what happens in the book, but not really. Everybody looks good. It's not really messed up. Nobody's looking ridiculous or anything. You got Geordi looking a little bit like Steve Harvey, though. That's a bit off. This issue, in all honesty, there's not a lot to talk about. It's a team-building issue. Geordi goes looking for an assistant engineer. Barclay is trying to get information on Data and figuring out if he wants to be human or if he despises humanity. We get an assassination attempt at the very beginning of the book that really goes nowhere. Deanna Troi scans the crew trying to find who's loyal and who's more likely to turn on Captain Picard. And Captain Picard ends up going and trying to recruit Riker. It's basically, hey, I've got a plan, but I need all the right people, that kind of thing. It's the first 15 minutes of Ocean's 11. you know, where they're walking around. You're going to be this guy, and you're going to be that guy, and we're going to pull off this heist, and it's going to be so awesome. Except for, in this case, the heist is they want to steal the Enterprise. Overall, still good, still entertaining, but this is definitely the weaker of all the issues so far. Art is okay, I've noticed. It's not great. It's not fantastic. Like I said, sometimes the characters are off. Sometimes they age and de-age. But in general, it's not offensive art. I could at least say that much. Issue number 3. So this scene never happens in the book. You'd think it's going to be some sort of Wesley and Dr. Crusher versus Picard thing. Never happens. And yeah, they managed to make Wesley look really stupid with that haircut. Just give him a goatee just like everybody else. Don't give him the stupid cure haircut to show that he's evil. Oy vey. This is the issue that it's all building up to. You've got Riker meeting the captain. The captain's like, well, this launch better go off really well. So they're just nervous about getting everything going. You know that Riker's already planned to do a bit of a mutiny with Picard, and the guy just goes around a meeting. We see that the Crushers are on board, and the captain had some sort of deal, and if Wesley Crusher gets in the way, they're going to jettison him out into space or something like that. And then over on the Stargazer, Captain Picard's planning the invasion, and he finds out that there's only 150 people over on the Enterprise, and he's like, good. 200 people on the Enterprise. He's got an invasion force of 150. So they've got a plan to mass transport, and they go on about mass transporting, and then it's basically the element of surprise. They shoot somebody. Anybody else want to know? Are you going to join us? You're going to die. And that's basically it over and over and over again. What gets me is this is the part of the book. This is the part of the story, anyway, that we've been building up to, and it ends up very anticlimactic. I just thought there was going to be more to it. It's not really particularly exciting, and because it's over so quickly, it ends up being another recruitment video or recruitment issue. Well, but this time they're just recruiting Wesley and Dr. Crusher. And I do like the fact that Wesley's the number guy, you know, and he's like this super intelligent kid and all that kind of stuff, but he's got a really dumb haircut. Overall, though, yeah, I'd say the issue's decent enough. But it's definitely the weakest so far. Issue number 4. The cover's pretty cool, actually. I mean, I swear, if you take away the lettering on these things, take away the credits, the title, the whole 9 yards, these are some really good posters. I mean, there's some good art on these things. Issue number 4 starts out with Guinan coming in a case, and Data's basically telling Barclay all about it. And Barclay's like, he seems to have a soft spot for weirdos, doesn't he? And Data's like, wow, I didn't think about it. Are you a weirdo? Does he have a soft spot for you? And then we go on, and we see the crew and the captain basically saying exactly what I said about issue number 3. Sorry, but this way of life does not work in the military. It doesn't. They don't have the crew because they were like, I can't trust you, therefore I must kill you, and now we don't have the people to run the ship. Rather than just get promoted to the ship. Just do what you need to do with what you got. You know, and that's what they go through this entire issue, basically. All the way to the point where they go to a prison planet to drop off people who are loyal to the previous captain. We do find out that Deanna Troi believes that Riker could take the ship, and if he's patient, he'll get everything he wants. Otherwise, yeah, it's they get Wesley to be an officer as well. Why not? He's smart. He's an asset. We need to take him out of the shadows because his mom's been hiding the fact that he's super intelligent. And they make him officer just in time for a big attack from the Federation. And that's, like I said, it's another part of the problem. They're coming to get you. What are you going to do if you fight the Federation, or the Empires, they're calling it here? You don't have any resources other than what's on your ship. Of course, Picard's been called a pirate, so maybe he's used to that. I don't know. So the book ends basically with this big battle, and then at the end we find, of course, the Enterprise survives, and he's like, we could take anything they throw at us, and it shows that the entire Empire's fleet arrives to battle the Starship Enterprise. Finally, stuff happens. Still more recruitment, but I do like the discussion here, and I understand the Next Generation had a lot of talking before any kind of action was done. It's all about the characters, and that's what they're playing with here, and they do a good job. They're at least answering the questions of what would this character be like in this particular situation, because they wouldn't be exactly the people that we see on the other side. Overall, one more decent issue. Issue number 5, another poster cover. That's all they've really been, so let's move on. So in this issue, I find out it wasn't the Empire. It was the Cardassians and the Klingons going after Luke and the 3 ships. So they decide, okay, we're going to get the heck out of here because they're having a hard time. Guinan at this point is also running in and saying, I need to talk to the captain. And they figure, okay, we're gonna take off, and they talk about what can they do, and they end up coming up with a plan where they separate the saucer from the ship, and they split it up into 3 different things. We have a bit of a Deus Ex Machina as well, also, where John Luke's like, hey, I know a little something that you guys don't know about this ship I just jumped into. And they do this big maneuver thing where he's basically warping every 1.5 seconds. I know I'm jumping way ahead of what you're seeing here. Trust me, this is what ends up happening. But yeah, that's what it is. Oh, yeah, there's a bit of an argument because the Picard wants Riker to go into the one part of the ship that has no weapons, but Picard's telling him, it's not because I want you killed, it's because I think you're a great pilot. And so yeah, they do their little battle. The ship is warping in and out of the area, so it's hitting all of the ships at different angles and everything. So the Cardassians and the Klingons are defeated, and Picard says, go tell your masters we're coming for you. And some more of the Empire ship shows up, and they're like, gee willikers and golly, I know you stole our ship, but you know what? You did such a great job, you could keep it. And that is the story. I'm not freaking kidding. It is that kind of ending there. Yeah, actually, there's a build-up to the battle that I really appreciated. I thought they did a very good job of giving a tense moment to everything. So overall, I enjoyed it. It's just, it ended 5 pages after it should have ended, and that is where the big problem lies with this issue. But that's not the question. The question is the story overall really that good? In all honesty, I haven't heard a lot of people screaming its praises, but here you go. It's been commissioned. I will answer the question. In my opinion, I would have to say, okay, yeah, it's good. It's not great, though. It does spend a lot of time doing what could have been done in one single issue. Instead of following Barclay around, it should have been the recruitment issue. They heard about the Enterprise. They want to get the Enterprise, and we are getting to know where every character is in the Zero issue. Instead, I think that would have helped leave open the rest of the series for a lot more story, and to help build up the tension and the conflicts between the crew members and so forth and so on. Unfortunately, it does feel like there's a lot of filler in this book. It's entertaining, and if you like Star Trek Generation, I think you're going to love this series, as a matter of fact. If you're a casual fan of Star Trek, you might like the series. If you're a newbie and you're jumping on, you're going to think this is an average comic book, and take it or leave it. I would definitely say this is good if you could get it in trade paperback form, definitely during a discount day. But that's just my opinion. What is yours? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe, and make sure you're hitting those notifications. Not just, make sure your notifications are on your cell phone and all that kind of stuff, and make sure your notifications bell is rung right here so you don't miss anything. Cool things happen around these parts. Also, if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon and Ko-Fi. There's tip jars. You can just drop $1 in the till. Helps out. Helps keep the lights on. Helps keep making videos for you. And if you would like to commission your own video, once again, links in the description below for Ko-Fi. Just go pick your subject, your topic, the whole 9 yards, and we'll get right to it as soon as possible. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that. To everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.